A bill to strengthen free speech on Iowa college campuses passed the House Judiciary Committee earlier today.
Now, Abby, this bill would protect really free speech for students, but it would make it much more difficult for administrators to speak out on policy matters. So with that in mind, let's go live right now to KWWL Iowa City area reporter Travis Breeze to tell us more about kind of what inspired this change. And Travis, tell us also what some of these lawmakers are thinking about this.
Ron and Abby, both parties have said that they support this bill, but also that the language might need to be refined a little bit. Lawmakers have been talking about instances on all three public university campuses where students may have had their free speech denied, the one most recently at the U of I College of Dentistry.
It's hard. The First Amendment's very difficult.
On October 16th, College of Dentistry Dean David Johnson sent an email condemning an executive order by then President Trump. This caused dozens of staff and students to share their opinions. One student who disagreed with the college was called for a disciplinary hearing.
He was simply doing what they were doing, just opposed to it. And I don't think that was right either.
Representative Dustin Hite says this led to HSB 237, which would prohibit the use of resources for partisan activity and further restrict discrimination based on viewpoints.
There are certain instances where any of the three regents, it's totally appropriate for them to take a stance. You know, certainly when it deals with education, University of Iowa, when it deals with healthcare. It's these other things that are outside of that that really the institution should not be taking a stance, and the people in the institution should not be taking a stance as the institution.
Democrats agree faculty need more training, but some worry the broad language could prohibit things like a politician visiting campus.
It's a really blunt rule right now that does not take into account a lot of what the university already does and frankly is permitted to do under First Amendment law.
To avoid this, Representative Christina Bohannon thinks the bill needs input from college administrators.
The idea is that that would just become kind of part of university policy or Board of Regents policy rather than putting something in the Iowa code for every little thing.
While all these free speech changes have been going on, there's also a different student group that's been fighting to get better diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings in the College of Dentistry. And they feel this has really taken the spotlight away from them, and they feel they're kind of being left behind. So you'll get to hear from them tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. But for now, reporting live in Iowa City, Travis Breeze, News 7 KWWL.
All right, Travis, thanks for the update tonight out of Iowa City. Now, the Board of Regents, interestingly, passed its own series of free speech reforms just last week. Now, their reforms don't go quite as far, though, as the language set out in this proposed piece of legislation in the Iowa legislature. Now, a spokesperson said the board, or for the board, I should say, said they are monitoring the progress in the legislative session, but are willing to work with Iowa lawmakers.